Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond Straight Street. I'm Mark, and this is kind of a special Sunday edition of Written and Revealed. So, our topic today is the two witnesses of Revelation. Now, I don't generally read too much into the book of Revelation just because there are so many ambiguities and because Jesus kind of warned us against it in Acts 1, 6, and 7. However, there is one important piece in Revelation 11, 3 through 12 regarding the two witnesses in the end times that I have done a little research on, and I want to share with you what God showed me. It says, "And I will grant authority to my two witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees and the two lampstands that stand before the Lord of the earth. And if anyone wants to harm them, fire comes out of their mouth and devours their enemies. So if anyone wants to harm them, he must be killed in this way. These have the power to shut up the sky so that no rain will fall during the days of their prophesying. And they have the power over the waters to turn them into blood, and to strike the earth with every plague, as often as they desire. When they finish their testimony, the beast that comes up out of the abyss will make war with them, and he will overcome and kill them. And their bodies will lie in the street of the great city, which mystically is called Sodom and Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. Those from the peoples and tribes and tongues and nations will look at their bodies for 3.5 days, and will not permit their dead bodies to be laid in a tomb. And those who dwell on the earth will rejoice over them and celebrate, and they will send gifts to one another, because these two prophets tormented those who dwell on the earth. But after 3.5 days, the breath of life from God came into them, and they stood on their feet. And a great fear fell upon those who were watching them. And they heard a loud voice from heaven saying to them, quote, 'Come up here.' Then they went up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies watched them." So, Enoch and Elijah are the only two people in Scripture who never died in the traditional sense, meaning physically. God took them up to himself. In Hebrews 11, verse 5, it says this about Enoch. "By faith Enoch was taken up so that he would not see death, and he was not found because God took him up, for he obtained the witness that before his being taken up, he was pleasing to God." And in the book of Genesis, chapter 5, verses 21 through 24, it says, "Enoch lived 65 years and became the father of Methuselah. Then Enoch walked with the Lord 300 years after he became the father of Methuselah. And then he had other sons and daughters. So all the days of Enoch's life were 365 years. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him." So it doesn't say he died. It doesn't say he was buried. In the Old Testament, they make a big deal out of burials and lineage and where they were buried. And in Elijah's story, it's a similar account, except we get to know a lot more about Elijah through 2 Kings. And in fact, in 2 Kings 2, 11 through 13, that's where we find him taken up to heaven while still living. It says, "As they were going along and talking, behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, which separated the two of them." That's Elijah and Elisha. "And Elijah went up by a whirlwind to heaven. Elisha saw it and cried out, 'My father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen.' And he saw Elijah no more. Then he took hold of his own clothes and tore them in two pieces. He also took up the mantle of Elijah that fell from him and returned and stood by the bank of the Jordan. Now, why is it significant that these two men did not die as it concerns them being the two witnesses? What are the receipts? Well, firstly, we need to remember this fact from the book of Hebrews, chapter 9, verse 27. It says, "It's appointed for man once to die, and after that comes judgment." So why is that significant? Because the judgment is certain for all mankind. And according to Hebrews 9:27, death will precede judgment. So it follows logically that they would be the two because they were caught up to heaven before physically dying. Again, this is only one viewpoint. Some say it's going to be Elijah and Moses because in Matthew 17:3 and 4, they were the two that appeared on the Mount of Transfiguration. Only one problem with that, though. Moses did actually die and was buried with his fathers, as we see in the book of Deuteronomy 34:5 that says, "So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab according to the word of the Lord." So what do you think about all that? Who do you think the two witnesses are going to be? Leave me a comment below and let me know, and then tell me why you think so. I'd love to hear your opinion. I love you all, and I'll see you soon.